So we now have episode 3 of The Walking Dead World Beyond. This episode is called Exit Wounds. We are now have got 7 episodes left of the series and then we are finally done with it. But if you don't want to get anything spoiled for you for this episode, don't watch this review because this review is going to contain full spoilers for the episode. So I'm really happy we're on episode 3 just because, as I said in the intro, there's only 7 episodes left. This show is just terrible. It actually is really, really terrible. This episode in particular was just I think it's the worst one they've done this season so far. This show to me honestly feels like a chore to make my way through. There's literally no redeeming qualities to this show anymore. This episode in particular, there was 2 storylines. There was one with Elton and Percy, and then there's one with Hope. I'm gonna get the Hope storyline out of the way because what the fuck was that storyline all about? But anyways, last week we got to introduce to this male character who we saw had a photo of himself and Hook together. In this episode, it was revealed that it was never said, but he's wearing a wedding ring, so I'm assuming the two of them are married. He went off because she'd done something and then she didn't feel comfortable being around him anymore, but now she wants to go off and find Felix and that entire group because she feels bad about what happened with them. So that's what Hook is all about in this episode. Hope in this episode has started going to classes. She's running around trying to see how the CRM operates. She's making friends. She's doing all the stuff. You see the classmates she's hanging out with. She hangs out with them after school hours. They go down. They start drinking in memory of the campus colony. They start drinking alcohol. They start playing games. Nothing really amazing. You're just going to see them hanging out. You see Hope kind of getting flashbacks every time someone mentions something that can be compared to something that happened to them outside. You can see her jumping back and forth, immediately thinking of that again. Didn't really give a shit about any of that. The episode concludes with both of them, Hook leaving the CRM with Hope in the back of the truck, hiding. They go off. They make their way to this community that Iris is at, and then we see Iris sees Hope from the distance, so we imagine in episode 4, unless a bomb drops in between the two of them, they are going to get reunited in episode 4. So I was expecting it sooner rather than later. I'm surprised it's happening in episode 4 rather than sooner than I thought it would be, but they are going to be reunited, which honestly, I just don't care. I really do not care about the show at all. For me, the show is a complete failure of a TV series. I actually bought season 1 on Blu-ray. I bought it because I'm a completionist. I bought it because I am a massive Walking Dead fan. Like, just looking around my room, I can see over in the corner, I see a figure of Rick and Michonne. Below that, I've got a signed photo of Father Gabriel, and even just more and more around the room. Behind me, I've got a poster of Rick and Daryl. Got figures all over the place. I've got season 1 to 10 of the regular show. I've got season 1 to 5, just waiting on season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead to come out. So I said, I'm going to get season 1 of World Beyond to have it there. I even got every volume of the comics, but I don't like World Beyond and I don't want to rewatch season 1, but I bought it again because I'm a completionist. So season 2, part of me is enjoying it more than season 1, purely because it's not like season 1 focused a lot on the teenage drama, where season 2 we aren't really doing that. We're doing it a bit, but our teenagers aren't really together, so we don't really focus on it as much. And there's a lot more adult characters in this who are better than the teenage characters because they are adults, so it kind of works out better. But still, it's not great. Our other storyline was with Elton and Percy, so we get reunited with them since, I want to say episode 10 of World Beyond, but I really cannot remember. I remember last season though when Elton went off on his own to try and catch up with Cersei. Not Cersei, that's Game of Thrones. Silas. My first thing I said was, I hope that's the end of them. Like I said, even back then I said, it's not because I hate Elton. I actually really enjoy Elton. But I hope this is the end of them so that they can just have it as a character that's just gone off on their own. They don't need to come back in. They were very much side characters and they didn't need to come back in, but now they're back in. They're back in anyways. But you see them, they found a horse. They found a horse, so they're on a horse. And then they come across a group of 2 people and Elton wants to go up and ask for the food. Percy's like, just go up and steal the food. So Elton makes his way up, he gets ready, says, just ask them, can we have some food? The woman then hands him 2 potatoes. Then we see Percy's robbing the food, so then one thing leads to the another, and they are now running for their lives as they are throwing axes at them and all this stuff. Then walkers come out of the ground, which in fairness, the walkers coming out of the ground was pretty cool, because all of a sudden You see a bird's eye view shot looking down at them, kind of running around panicking on what the hell's happening, and you see walkers just rising up out of the ground. Very reminiscent, I thought, of Toy Story, which is not really something you'd think of comparing. You'd never think of comparing The World Beyond to Toy Story, but if you think of that scene in Toy Story when the toys are rising up out of the sandpit, that's what I kind of thought of straight away when I saw this part. Excuse me, in The Walking Dead World Beyond, when you saw them rising up, is immediately what I thought of. And it leads to all the killing of all the walkers, and it looks like Elton got bit. You see him get bit in the arm. Immediately I was like, oh brilliant, something actually happens to them, there's consequences, brilliant, he's going to lose his arm or something. And the two people as well were like, oh my god, chop off his arm, get ready to chop off his arm. And then Percy and Elton are freaking out, as he would, because Elton's about to get his arm chopped off. He's like, no, I don't need it, look, I didn't even get bit because of the jacket. And he's talking about the jacket, he's explaining how the jacket works. And even at the start of the episode, I saw him in the suit and I was like, why the fuck's he wearing a suit again? Like, what's the point of wearing the suit? I thought it was just because he's a weird kid, but no, of course, the suit does protect him. And after explaining it, it cuts to black, re-emerges, and you see the girl is now wearing the suit. She is now taking the suit off him. He's sitting there in a white t-shirt and I think his boxers probably, and she's sitting there wearing his suit. So it's pretty funny in that regard that it makes a complete sense. They hear how great it is. Why would they leave it with him? Of course they're going to take it because it's an asset in the apocalypse. You're wearing clothing that you cannot get bit in. Of course they're going to steal it. So I thought that was pretty good. But in the process, they tie him up, they throw him in the back of a horse and carriage, and they start making their way off. They get to this kind of junction that has all these nuclear waste signs. My first reaction was I saw that was thinking, where are we based again? Are we based in Texas? And are they going to get to Texas after Fear the Walking Dead? But then I remembered, oh no, they're making their way to New York, so they're on the other side of the states. But then they make their way through, and then they end up at the community that Iris and the group are at. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting it to be this group. I didn't know what to expect. I probably should have put two and two together. I probably should have went, okay, they got 7 episodes left, they gotta get these people back together soon. But that's just not where my mind was thinking, that group was actually, or those two were part of the group that Iris and them were at. But we find out that the reason the nuclear waste signs are at that, I can't even remember if this was in this episode or if it was on the next on for episode 4. But we find out that the nuclear signs are only put up there because of the CRM to try and keep people away from their compound. So it makes sense how they're able to hide these big, massive compounded areas they have. It makes sense that by doing this, they're able to hide it. But that's pretty much it with this episode. There's not really a lot. You kind of have a filler bit of an episode with Elton and Percy to get them to the community. Hope is just going back and forth. Again, Hope is now with Iris as well. So they've all reunited besides Silas, who's now been kidnapped by the CRM. But for the most part, they're all together. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward because Hope can go back, but the rest of them can't go back to the CRM. So I don't really know what's going to happen. Is she going to stay there, and then is Hook going to go back and then try and remove the father from there? But the father, I'm under the impression, wants to stay there, so I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen here. My guess is the show is going to end with all of them dying. I can't see them. They're all like going, oh yeah, we're going to kill CRM. They're all thinking they're big, massive people that they can take the CRM down easily. But we know they're not going to be able to take the CRM down as easy as they think they are. So I imagine the show will end up with them dying. But honestly, I don't really know. If you're wondering my thoughts on episode 4, though, make sure to click the subscribe button so you can come back and hear my thoughts on episode 4 next week. And as always, thanks for watching.